Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Antonio Cupo to talk about the Lifetime original Wrath, a 7 Deadly Sins story. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's really great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. So I want to talk about this role that you played here of Xavier. There were a lot of things about him. I mean, it's very relatable. Not to this. Look at your face.
Keep
not
going. What did I do?
not to this extent. I mean, but it was highly, highly relatable content in terms of some of the things that have gone on in life. And I think a lot of people will understand that framework of that. Talk to us about your character.
I think that part of the reason for me joining this was to effectively represent that, and I understand the universality of this character and the relevance of this film. So Xavier is a guy who's seemingly perfect, who has an identical career, birthday, etc. of Chastity Jeffries, who's the lead girl, played by Michelle Williams. And I think right from the get-go, sort of the idea of having the perfect person walk into your life with a set of circumstances that's like it's too good to be true. It almost puts you in the mindset that this is the universe handing me something.
Yeah.
This is my opportunity. Like I knew love would happen to me, but how it happened to me, you have the story. It's a very I think it's a risky place to come from. And I feel like there is a lot of truth in that for a lot of people, certainly for myself, personally speaking. My past, I feel like at certainly at times where you felt like you needed something most, something came in a perfectly wrapped package, and somebody came to you and they were just seemingly so perfect. And maybe it's only there, who knows, maybe they came into your life to teach you something and that was it. But hopefully you get out before you get you get hurt, and that's kind of the that was one of the motivators for me. It's like how can I effectively represent this character and have whoever watches understand that perhaps they recognize something in their own life from their past or what they're going through currently, and they're able to see those red flags and get out early.
Because one of the things I noticed is, like, again, like you said, everything was just so neat and so perfect. So it kind of ends up being something so rapid. And I think we talk a lot about this lately. Is a lot of conversation online about like love bombing and things like that. I mean, I'm perfectly settled and happy with who I am as a person. But if I meet you today and you're in love with me tomorrow, that's not love. There's something amiss, And I think people got to sort of understand, like, hey, you're an amazing person, but does this really, really look right? Or would this really organically happen this way? Is everything, can it be so whirlwind?
Too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. It's funny because I watch a lot of documentaries, and of course, so many of them have when you dealing with characters that are they have challenging set of circumstances, and they're going they're manipulative or they're violent or whatever the case is. It seems like their story is always, they always have the story is that they always appear to be perfect.
Yes.
They always appear to be Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. And I think that it's a very, very dangerous place to be. And the reason is falling in love too early, or having someone tell you perhaps that they're in love with you too early. Maybe there is something else.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to get at something. And you see that not in this film necessarily, but you see that that in general, there's, when all the story is said and done, and they've gone back and described all the events, there was always something there, a motivating factor. Was it money? Was it greed? Was it was it sex? Was it there was always something that was deceitful underneath, and that I mean, it makes for a really great movie, but it makes for a terrible real life scenario.
Definitely. No, I am always just very, very leery of people who are just extremely generous too early. Just to speak to what you're saying. I mean, if somebody's just like, if they're just all in and such a here's this, here's that, because first of all, I don't necessarily even ask for much, and I'm not trying to say that to be like out of humility, but I just don't. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy, so to speak. So if somebody just came in and just gave me the world, right
Yeah.
out the gate. It's like, what is your end game? So I do, at least with my thought process, I don't lead with like emotion. I definitely just, things have to just make sense in my head as well.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't make sense,
Mm-hmm.
you have to trust you got to trust your heart. But sometimes your heart plays tricks on you. So you
Yeah.
actually have to look at it rationally
Yeah.
and say, is this too early for this kind of behavior? What's really behind all this?
Mm-hmm.
It's not to get overly analytical
Mm-hmm.
in relationships, because there's so much that's based on moment to moment and feelings, and sometimes it can be really, really great.
Yeah.
So, I hate to take that away, but it's not always that someone is into your best interest, even if it's just giving you the space
Yeah.
to be able to breathe and to be able to live those moment to moments, and respect your space.
Mm-hmm.
If they're taking that away from you, that is an instant red flag for me.
Mm-hmm. But see, the thing is, Chastity made a best effort to try to control her environment and to try to stay safe. And I think a lot of times, like, we know, there's a great message in this movie as well about protecting yourself. Just stay ready. Like, Chastity did her best, with um, just trying to be aware at all times. But it didn't necessarily matter in this case. Again, this is a very, very extreme scenario.
Yeah.
But we just have to be completely aware at all times.
Yeah, being open to love and is a great thing, but certainly, sometimes love presents itself in different ways, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's not always wrapped up in a really great package.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just being able to recognize it. Oddly enough, and I don't know if this happened in your personal life, but it's funny, like the public signs of affection that were overt that
Yeah.
I've known around me, they've always, it's not like a kiss or a hug, but I'm talking about, my wife, in front of everyone, my wife, the most amazing person in the world, I owe everything to, my rock, and all of these, and of course, you're sitting there in the room and you're like, wow, this is making me look really, really terrible right now. But 3 months later, they're broken up.
Right.
You realize that, there was an extramarital affair.
Right.
Whatever the case was. And it's just like, sometimes we also have to recognize overcompensation,
Yes.
and just realize that if someone is overcompensating or they're doing too much, it could be an overcompensation. Again, not to get too analytical in this, but when we look back at it all and we say, okay, where were the warning signs? Sometimes they were right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing them is almost impossible.
Mm-hmm. But so to your point, I mean, yeah, when you see that sort of performative, like sort of that Instagram, social media, perfect couple, all this crazy, grandiose, we're a team, it's just me and you, her and him, whatever the case may be, there's almost always some kind of story. And I do know people who exist to create an environment online that absolutely does not mirror what's happening in real life. And I've seen that, where I see those couples in real life and they're just like blah, 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 blah. But on the internet, it's like, or rather they'll even, this is even worse. They'll even like allow a relationship to just far outlast what it really should have.
Yes.
Because they're so interested in the narrative of looking perfect. So can you imagine just being miserable for miserable sake because of people you don't even know?
Yeah. It's the exact opposite that what we're doing in the movie.
Yes.
What we're doing in the movie is we're showcasing, in a very short amount of time, we're showcasing a scenario that has gone wrong.
Yes.
And it's like the antithesis to the Instagram story, where it's like, hey, we're perfect. and people are out there going like, you see this? He got flowers for her and she did this for him, or whatever the case is. It's like, whoa, like I get it. But maybe all of that isn't necessarily true.
Yeah.
Not all about romanticism. And I love that chivalry is not perhaps dead, and you can be chivalrous, and you can still be, an elegant gentleman and a wonderful, partner to in your relationship. But showing something that you're not, I think, is actually a little damaging to young people.
It is horrible.
Right?
Because if you think about it, and I mean, this is super tangential, but we're at an age right now in social media where there are people who have literally grown up on social media. This is all they know. These are people that are like devastated by TikTok or Snapchats or things that have been said to them, or somebody can say something bad to them on Twitter, and because they don't really have a very healthy way of having existed off the grid.
Yes.
It is like the worst thing in the world anybody has ever said to them. And it's like, you never even met this person.
Yeah.
How can they say this thing and how can you take this seriously? But
Mhm.
I can't discount it because I didn't grow up like that.
Yeah, and I
Right.
completely understand what
Yeah.
you mean.
Yeah.
Because I'm from a generation of, I remember when things were a lot simpler. When I
Yes.
remember when things were a lot better, and I remember when even like negative comments online weren't really popular. And then
Exactly.
and then it became this thing where it was like, you were like a masked warrior, behind a computer screen and like can say anything, and people are, then committing suicide and doing,
Hmm.
going on these, just because someone has said something. It's like, it's such an interesting time that I think young people have grown up in, and it's not a huge difference between a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old. It's
Yeah.
20 years, but it's a generation of,
Yes.
being raised in a world that they don't understand what it's like to not be online.
Yes. And they're so dependent on it. And these people are like their friends. And it may not even necessarily translate into actual so-called real life, because
Yeah,
I guess it's all real in its own way. But I mean,
yeah,
like just sort of kind of getting into this sort of this meta sort of universe. But it's
yeah,
like they may not even understand what it's like to socialize
yeah,
offline, or it's not as important.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's very reactionary. And
Yeah.
the probably the best advice of that is, if your instant reaction is telling you to do something, do the exact opposite, or take time.
Oh, yep, that's true.
Take time, think about it, sleep
Mhm.
on it, because if you want to react right away, for every reaction there is a direct and immediate reaction.
Mhm.
And reactionary people just ramp themselves up and they get all worked up for no reason. you
And
know
people only see they only see the reaction. So if you're the person that's being reactionary, you're the one that's going to look crazy, even though people don't have all the variables. Or rather, the manipulative person is you're just playing right into their hands. So
100%. And
mhm.
they won, they win.
They win. Yeah.
You can take your power back by just going off. Thank you. I'm walking away from this conversation, or
Mhm.
it's not worth it. You know
But
what I
that's how I
mean?
am. Like I don't yeah,
Choose me.
I don't argue with anybody. And
Right.
especially online, like if somebody was
Yeah.
attacking, like if I'm talking to you about a subject and then it
Yeah.
becomes like an ad hominem attack,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like I'll just end the conversation. Like I won't even like react. Like you can say
Yeah.
whatever to me. I have very, very thick skin. So
I
it
love
doesn't
that.
like I get it, it's all just like, like 001110 binary code, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Zeros and ones, baby.
Exactly. So it's like whatever, I don't care. Plus,
Yeah.
a lot of times like you will see these people in person, you'll be like, okay, so that's interesting. You feel, oh no, it was just the internet. That's a little bit crazy. Like, how did
Yeah.
you see? Because I'm just really big on people and their intent. Like, do you want me
Yeah.
to like lose it? Like, did you want me to like, just like really just go off crying? Like, what did you want me to do? So
Yeah.
that's why I can't take it personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's,
Mhm.
preach. That's exactly, that's exactly how I feel.
I'm so happy to hear that. And listen, Antonio, what do you have next? 'Cause I'm taking up all your time. What the people don't know is that Antonio and I were just chopping it up way for a minute, like old friends.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But that's why we're here. It's not only to interview. We're having an experience. Every time
Yeah.
we meet someone, every time we come across someone, we're able to exchange words. And it's like, I
Hmm.
was sitting in an Uber yesterday,
Hmm.
and I thought, like, I was busy on my phone doing something, and the driver was looking really to connect, which is
Ah.
and so I was just like, what? Put my phone down. Yeah, I've got business to do. I've got emails to get back to, but this person is reaching out to have a personal moment with me.
Hmm.
So I want to just be able to give this moment the respect, this person the respect, and have a personal moment, and not have my life completely controlled by my device. You know,
Yeah.
and that, I think that's getting harder and harder, to our points earlier,
Hmm.
harder and harder for young people. And completely off topic, is not related to this movie at all, but maybe in a strange way it is, because maybe being present and understanding your surroundings and reading the room is
Mm.
a message that we can effectively take from this movie.
Yes.
That's something that Xavier really wasn't able to do. He wasn't able to take social cues. He wasn't able to control his emotions. He wasn't able to read the room and deal with people in a respectful way. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
It's very true. I mean, there's a lot to learn from it. And again, I mean, the most important thing about the movie is, again, it does teach you behaviors or to identify behaviors. I mean, of course, it doesn't have to be this extreme, but it
Yeah.
teaches you how to identify behaviors and to know what you can and do not want to accept in your life. And
Yeah.
this certainly teaches about proper boundaries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but sometimes people give you the answers
Mhm.
early on.
Mhm.
They're just wrapped a little differently, you
Mhm.
know? So recognizing those cues early and being able to navigate them and understanding when you know, that getting involved deeper with people that are giving you the answers. They're
Mhm.
giving you all the clues. They're telling you about themselves by, you know, tearing on their exes, by, you know, disrespecting people around them. You know, how do you think they're going to treat you
Mhm. Because
when you
I always say, one thing I'll say is people are consistent.
yeah.
They are consistent, good or bad. People are consistent. So if you know this behavior, malevolent or otherwise, that's who that person has been. And that first argument, that first tantrum, that first thing, it's just more so a measure of what you're willing to accept. So if
Yeah.
you say, okay, well, this works for me, then all you're telling that person is that they can push more boundaries and they're just going to
Yeah.
go as far as they can go, until you know whatever could happen or whatever you decide that is your normal in that situation.
Well, why do we wait until the things we're too deep before we just go, okay, it's hard. Now it becomes difficult to pull out or impossible to pull out or seemingly impossible. And it takes a friend to shake you up and go, hey, listen, you're in an abusive relationship. You got to get out.
So I'll tie this back to Xavier, because with Xavier, it's because we know him as a kind and charming person at some point. So you just keep chasing that thing, like you don't want to leave it behind, or maybe even you don't want anybody else to experience it. So that's when you start to even almost like abuse yourself.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
you make up reasons,
Yes.
you make up excuses for the person because you're looking for the person that you first met, and
Yes.
they'll often repeat it. You remember do you remember the time when we met in that bar and you know we discovered and they go back to that place and you emotionally go back to that place
Hmm.
and you experience that again and somehow even though the situation is terrible in the
Yep.
moment you somehow reconnect with those emotions and you're like okay you know let's just go let's forget about this you know the one time you hit me or let's forget about the one time you called me names or whatever the case is and then it happens again.
And it happens again and again and again. It's funny, and because I was in a situation years ago where the guy, we were like just dating, like not really dating, just kind of getting to know each other. We kind of got a
Yeah.
couple times. And one day when I was doing digital radio and I'm at the radio station, as I consistently say, this is what I do on this day, I go to the radio station. So he texts me, hey, where are you at? And I'm just like, I'm at the radio station. And he
Yeah.
goes, no, you're not. And I just said, okay. He's like, question mark. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you because I'm just not like, I don't know. Whatever you want to believe is what you want to believe. I just have
Yeah.
nothing to prove in this sense. You know, what's
Yeah.
understood doesn't need to be explained, as people say. So he kind of like texting me this trail of crazy texts. I mean, this is lifetime movie material.
Wow.
And I'm not responding. So the next day he calls me and he goes, oh, well, you know about yesterday, you know, and I'm like, I don't know about yesterday. That was weird. Like, and it's just the kind of weird that I don't do. So I like
Wow.
literally was just like not going to talk to him again. And I didn't. Then he says, well, you know how people, like, I knew you weren't lying, but you know how people are. I was like, that's how people are. Like that to me, that was a deal breaker for me. Like, that's not cute.
Yeah.
The jealousy, the gaslighting, the random accusations. I was just done. And he would
Yeah.
periodically hit me up like, you're really done? Like, because he was like a good looking guy. Like anybody else, it's the same situation where it's like,
Yeah.
who is this, this person? Like, oh, he can't be that, not him,
Yeah.
And I was like, no. So he'll periodically hit me up and I just would just be like, I'm good. Mm-mm.
You're smart and you're clearly strong in that moment. You were strong. You showed resilience because what they can do in that moment is flip it and turn it into a scenario where you're manipulated into thinking that it was somehow your fault or
Right.
you could have been more clear with a message or
You start ruminating and thinking like maybe I did something wrong. Exactly.
yeah,
So no. I can honestly say that is not a way that I think.
yeah
And
trust
my
yourself.
friend, and it's funny because to your point, when this is so interesting, people tend to think I'm too hard on people. So
Mm,
it's like because of things like that. So it ends up being where I come off looking like, man, like you should have gave him a second. But it's like, no, I don't want these bad stories to tell. I don't want that part of my storyline.
landmines. You're
Right.
just avoiding landmines like
Yeah.
your entire journey. But if the person is right for you and you know, it shouldn't feel like you're navigating anything but just great moment to moment like conversations and
Right.
dinners and discussions. And you know, that's the kind of relationship you want to be in. But why
Yes.
is it so attractive? Why is it so attractive to want to change somebody, want to you know, or when you find yourself in a situation that's particularly interesting, and normally it's like coming from that bad boy bad girl scenario, why is it that we're drawn to that somehow? Is it because we want to fix them? It's what are we missing in our own lives? What, you know, what piece of us is broken to want to go ahead and fulfill or live that experience and have that story to tell? It's always bad.
No, it's always bad. That's a really, really excellent point. You're right. You know, why are we attracted to the things that we're attracted to? Because
Yeah.
some people think that when someone is jealous, that that's attractive. Like, oh, that means that. No, but that's not what jealousy is about. Insecurity. So jealousy is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I had an ex once hit me, and I didn't want to hit her back, and she said, you don't want to hit me back because you don't love me."
see. That's that again. That person's origin story, like what happened to them,
Yeah.
to feel like hitting someone is a form of love.
Yeah.
That's so sad. I mean,
And it
obviously,
was over nothing, like
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. No,
And I was just like, I'm done, you
yeah.
know, because if someone is leading you on that path and masking it as like they're manipulating the idea of
Mhm.
hitting someone to be somehow related to love,
Oh,
it's a really bad scenario to be in.
it is. And the thing is, I've also known this is a complicated thing to say, but because of based on what you just said, I've known people that have been in multiple relationships where there's domestic violence involved. So you
Yeah.
have to kind of, just like you said, we have to wonder what it is that we're attracting ourselves to, that it will allow, because I've not been in a situation where a man put his hands on me. But that's also because I have a there's a very tight, I just don't take
Yeah.
anything. I don't even do like heightened voices. I don't yell. I don't argue. Like if
Yeah.
I'm there, if I'm that kind of angry, then there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're strong, and you know, if you can recognize that early, which you clearly can, then you're ahead of the rest, or ahead of a lot of people anyway.
No, but then it's like neurotic person. Like, okay, where's the guy? Like, why?
Right.
you
Yeah.
won't take
Yeah.
anything now.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, no, I'd rather no one than this.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because the energies you accept in your life and you invite into your life and you tolerate in your life, those are the things that change you. They change you as a person.
Hmm.
I mean, the wrong relationship could end you, could land you in jail,
Yeah,
you know, or it could land you broke,
many
or
people are in jail over love crimes.
so many.
So many, probably most.
It's half the documentaries that are out there.
Exactly.
You know, it's like crimes of passion are a thing,
The
and
thing.
I feel like the warning signs in many of the cases were there. However, you know, if people are going through it, don't feel like, you know, it's too late. You know, you have to you really just have to understand that um you know, you don't have to tolerate things, and things don't have to get so bad in order for you to dial it back and just go, I just need to breathe, and I need to
Yeah,
speak to
yeah,
somebody else, like
yeah.
and not a person that's not involved, a third party, a counselor, you know, some kind of a doctor, clinician, a priest, whatever it is, that you can confront your ideas. You know, maybe not a girlfriend, or maybe a girlfriend, you know, depending.
Well, I don't
Or,
know, depending, because a lot of times, people sometimes are like, a lot of times they'll go back to whatever the situation is and try to make sense of it. And so
yeah,
what happens is when you tell your friends about this thing, like you're like, oh, he's bad, he's bad, he's bad, he's bad, he did this
yeah,
thing. Then you go back, you look crazy to the friend, of
yeah,
course, because all they're hearing are the bad times, not the so-called good times. And
yeah,
you just really need an impartial party that can say, no, he is
yeah,
bad. Get away
yeah.
from that.
Or the guy maybe will dress it up as violence, like, you know, early on we'll start like, you know, we'll invent a fictitious lifestyle, like
Yes.
he's some, you know, you know, something bad will happen if she tells the police
Ah, yeah,
about his behaviors, or like these kind of things that we see over and over again
yeah,
in the movies, and you know, in documentaries and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of us can relate to that,
yeah,
and we bury that information, but we should really be talking about it, because I have a daughter. You know,
hmm,
I have a daughter, and I want my daughter to be able to recognize that early on,
hmm,
and
hmm,
see that, like, oh, this is a behavior that I recognize. This is
hmm,
something that I should have been, I should be very, very, you know, attuned with,
hmm.
and be able to, you know, call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
right?
The one I always that I always pay attention to are people who are very, very different behind closed doors than how they present themselves in public.
Yeah,
When you see when you shut the door and it's like almost like an evil comes over them,
yeah.
it's like, oh no, 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 we're not doing this. We're
Yeah.
not doing that.
How long can they put up with that facade, that charade? Just like, just if you can just show who you truly are, or someone can show who they truly are, it's just so much easier.
It might sound really silly though, but like, does that person even really know who they are? If they're just presenting as a different person to each friend group and trying to sort of like play into charisma or trying to be this amazing person, but then when they get home and they're just like, they just don't feel that way, then
Yeah.
does that really a true sense of self?
Well, I think you spun this. I think you spun this earlier. You spun it into something positive, a glass half full scenario.
Yes.
And maybe this is one of those things that we can spin into positive, because
Yes.
maybe they don't realize it, but they have a set of circumstances and upbringing that they had their own challenges,
Challenges.
and
Mhm.
yeah, and I suppose when it's like getting, even if when you get close to the fire, you don't have to get burned to recognize it's a fire and it's hot,
Right, right.
right? So recognizing those things early and being able to just decipher situations and go like, okay, this is a scenario that I understand, or I can respect for what it is. I just don't want it in my life.
Right, exactly. So, and then to really repeat what we said earlier as well, it's recognizing that even with Xavier, I mean, everybody has an origin story. There's a reason why we're all the way we are, whether that makes us great people, or whether that makes us malignant people, whatever
Yeah,
the case may be. There's always an origin story. Where we fall short is that when we let our empathy
yeah,
allow us to be vulnerable in ways where we allow certain energy into our lives,
yeah,
knowing that it's just not good for us. So I can be empathetic towards
yeah,
what has happened to a person, but I
yeah.
don't have to take what that person is giving me if it's not positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
So Antonio, I'm going to have to wrap this up for you because I'm sure somebody's going to kill me out there. I could have your whole day. So
All
what? No,
good.
tell us what's next. I know you got a bunch of things going on. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm actually most of my schedule is producing. Over the last 5 years, I've been producing a lot of movies for Hallmark and other outlets, and Christmas movies, rom-coms, things like that. I've been enjoying that space,
Hmm.
and just entering the new medium. I just did a TV series called The Peacemaker, which is the series with John Cena
Hmm.
and James Gunn directing, and that
Hmm.
was really cool. So it's a lot of things, but my whole life is mainly just being a dad, and
Aw.
yeah, and it's those are the biggest shoes to fill, I suppose, and those are the one. That's what it's got me thinking at nighttime, and like how to be the best parent I can possibly be for my kid, and just
Aw.
being able to provide amazing experiences, and for myself and for them, because feel like sometimes your kids are, you blink an eye and you blink your eyes and boom, they're all of a sudden they're like five, and what did the last 5 years go, and you look back at your photos and you're like, there's so many great times, but you really want to relish in all those memories. So that's something else that I'm really working and focusing on, trying to be an incredible parent, and
Mhm.
just being present in their lives without all of this nonsense right
Oh,
here.
right. No, no, you're right. We all have to work on that. Would you want your children to go into show business as well?
I'm really big on allowing them to have their lives and discover
Mhm.
what they want to do. I'm here to support them, but right when both of my children were born, I understood that it is my job to guide them,
Mhm.
but not to live their lives.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
nice.
I
Mhm.
show them, I can show them right from wrong. I can teach them those things, and I can answer their questions to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
But it's not my job to, I'm there for support and to allow them to discover the life that they want to have, because
That's so
ultimately
beautiful.
they're going to be responsible for the life they create for themselves.
For sure. For sure.
So my parents allowed me to do that, and I
Mhm.
found my path. And there were some road bumps, some bumps along the
Mhm.
way, and sometimes you get bruised and sometimes you get cut, but
Mhm.
ultimately you're stronger because of it.
That's so wonderful. You're about to make me like over here, and I don't even have kids. I don't even want kids. And I'm just like,
Now you're like, I want kids.
no, I want kids. Give me all
Yeah.
the children.
Yeah.
That's time to
Yeah.
start.
Well, the things that you realize about yourself when you have kids is pretty amazing. And it's really interesting because some of the things that you were taught, either from your parents through religion or God or however, however, whatever your basis of knowledge was, you come back to those things when you have children because you're like, wow, it's like all of these memories come back of like, okay, right from wrong, what was I taught? And it's like, okay, suddenly all of these things become relevant again. And in your 30s, your 20s, 30s, 40s, you lose a lot of those things. Like right from wrong, and you know to not hurt people, you know not to do certain things, but you forgot the basis of that. Where did that come from? So when you start recognizing those things and you go back and you're reliving these experiences through your children, I mean, for me, it was like you want to do right by the people you love.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, however you get there, what you can teach them, the basics and the basis to your knowledge is what you refer back to. So maybe that's, if nothing else, if that's something that, to take away from today, if and whoever embarks on that journey understands that it is, it's the biggest responsibility you'll ever come across. Doing movies, this is fun, and it's great, and I hope it's a learning experience. But the experience you learn from being a parent is something completely out of the ordinary and something to truly cherish.
I'll just add this. One of my friends, she's had 2 kids in her 40s. She never intended to be a mother. Never intended. Wow. So and I asked her, I said, you never wanted to be mom, and now you're a mom. I was like, how does it feel? Like, did you feel like, was it hard to just sort of like just be a mom? She's like, it's a very interesting thing. She's like, because once you become a mother, you just get it. She's like, something just clicks and you're just a parent and you just know how to raise your Yeah. I was like, that's a very interesting answer. Yeah.
Yeah. And nature takes over. I mean, like as true as you falling in love with somebody or understanding, it's like there is a certain thing of understanding, that oftentimes nature's stronger than us. You don't have to intellectualize something in order to be good at something. It's like your body, your mind, your spirit, whatever it is that's guiding us, shows us the way. Certainly in parenting, and your instincts are very, very strong. And it's funny because I remember the very first time I heard the heartbeat of my son. He's the firstborn. Just listening to the heartbeat, I was a parent. That was the day
that was the moment.
I became a parent, and I love that child as much as I love my child today. I did not love the child any less in that moment because I didn't physically know the child. It was so strong and it was so powerful that it was like, wow. And all of these feelings come, like your paternal instincts come in. You're wanting to nest and create a scenario that's going to be incredible for for the baby's mother and for yourself and for the partnership and for it's just like you create family. However you do that, if it's getting a better place, if it's growing a garden, if it's buying organic fruits and vegetables, if it's if it's nourishing the relationship or the person, physically or emotionally, like you want to provide the best you can possibly provide. Or you can do the exact opposite and you can run for the hills. This happens, it's like, are you up to the challenge to be a man and a woman and to face that incredible part of nature that is stronger than you and me? And literally takes over and say, this is my life and I am in control and I will provide? Or am I just going to shut the door on that and just go and be, I'm sure there's a lot of adjectives we can use, but go and be less of a person, and show less strength. Like you can have it all. And I think truthfully, you and many people, all of us, we know where the truth lies and where the answers lie. How we project that, what we do is sometimes different. what I hope that is, if there's a takeaway, that understand that, different isn't wrong,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Different
Yes.
is only different.
Yeah.
You like your life. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, you can go and have a kid tomorrow, and you will love your life. Gives you a reason to live, So I
Mhm.
embrace it. Don't be afraid of it. I only, my only fear for me is I did it 20 years too late. When I first at 39.
Aw.
So
Oh, that is so cute. That's so
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. So it's a
Antonio,
beautiful
thank
thing.
you so much for speaking
Thank
with me. This
you.
this has been like one of my favorite conversations. Like I said, you guys have
Oh,
no idea. Like, Antonio and I were just talking like old friends. You
yeah,
guys were prepared. I've never even really, it just was just so great. And we're talking
yeah.
about like all this like, existential stuff and like there's some really interesting conversations that probably be like, what? That ain't got nothing to do with Lifetime. But
Well, if nothing else, that I think what's interesting is when people are truly connecting, and they're
yeah,
with themselves and with other people, and
yeah,
and exchanging bits and pieces of yourself. That's fun. It's fun
yeah.
to watch. It's fun to live that experience, and we can all confront our lives with other people in this way, and if there's a takeaway there, then great. But it's hell a lot better than looking at an Instagram story and going like, I wish my life were like that,
Like
and that's
this
not even their
person.
lives.
It's not their lives. I have literally seen people take pictures in front of supercars and ask the owner, "Can I sit in it?" Take the picture, and I'm watching it. I'm like, I see you on the MTA bus every day. This is not real.
Or
I,
like go and sit on a private jet, or
like,
like, oh my gosh, like here's me in Paris, and it's like, you're not in Paris, you're not even in Montreal.
you
Like,
know,
you know, it's
they have a private jet studio where people can take these pictures now.
that is ridiculous. That's
It's
ridiculous.
literally like a carved out like a set. You go on
Can I
there.
just say, like, honestly, like, I don't care what material wealth you have. Your wealth is here, and your wealth is here.
Exactly.
If you
Yes,
don't have that, it doesn't matter if you have all the riches in the world,
you won't
or
be
how
happy.
much you want to blow and give away and
Mhm.
spend and do all that crazy stuff that a lot of these people do. What is your legacy?
Yes.
This is the question. What is your legacy?
What is your
Is it
legacy?
the rich guy?
Hmm.
What are they going to say at your funeral? Are they going to say that guy had a lot of money? He had seven zeros in his bank account, or whatever they consider it. Where is the comma?
Yeah. What is
Or are
it?
they going to say he never spoke bad about anybody?
Yeah.
He was someone that had never-ending love for people. He was
Hmm.
someone that had never-ending patience for people. He always gave everyone a second chance. Like, those are the things that we hear at someone's funeral are never about material wealth. So how
That's
can we
correct.
adapt those things into our lives, and have that be the takeaway, and say, what do I want my legacy to look like? Is it going to
Mhm.
be about driving a brand new Porsche Corvette, you know, or whatever the case is, or
Right.
having the coolest shoes, or
Yeah.
having the whatever? It's never about that.
It's never. Oh wow. That is the message, and that's not a religious message. It's just a message just overall. Just about being like really. I think that what you're saying too, it speaks to a lot of things I talk about, like in terms of like just being a humanist. Just be a kind person. Just try to do the right thing.
Yeah,
That's all you
yeah,
got to do. Whatever you assign that to, whether that's your spirituality or your religion,
yeah,
or like you were even saying earlier, like you talk to a therapist, a priest,
yeah.
a rabbi, talk to somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I've had the conversation with people that are, they're in many ways very showy, which is I respect as well. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just the way they live.
Hmm.
And when you really truly connect,
Hmm.
the feeling of connection is universal.
Yeah, that's true. Hmm.
So like I can look at your wrist and see that you got, similar rollie to mine, or you have a
Hmm.
similar car to mine, or you have similar shoes to me. And we go, okay, well, I know this person because I understand their style, I understand
Yeah.
their feel. But you don't really know that person. When you connect on a deeper level, when you connect on a level that is emotional,
Hmm.
and it challenges you to think,
Yeah.
suddenly it becomes, your relationship goes 10 levels deeper. It's
Yeah.
not about anything you can buy.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
We heard growing up, the best things in life the best things in life are free.
That's right. Hmm.
It came back to me at literally 44 years old,
Hmm.
this year, where I finally said it after so many years. I finally said it because even though it was a life that I lived for a long time,
Hmm.
being able to vocalize that and just go, the best things in life are free.
Are free. It's true.
You
I
cannot
agree.
pay for love and respect. You cannot
Hmm.
pay for time and understanding. You
Yep.
cannot pay for deeper meaning. you cannot pay for love.
Mm-hmm.
All of
So
those
that love doesn't cost a thing. Like,
love doesn't cost a thing.
yeah.
They said it to us in songs in the 60s and 70s, 80s. It's like, but it's true. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And to be understanding and to be loving and just to live your life in a way that it has truly deep meaning or deeper meaning is always going to be a benefit.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So
Thank
great
you.
talking with you.
It was so great talking to you. Sincerely, it definitely was. Once again, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and rap stars Michelle Williams, Romeo Miller, Tina Knowles-Lawson, and of course, Antonio Cupo. And it will air, thank you. It will air on April 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Lifetime. It is really a good watch, and I got to watch it before they did.
Yeah. I hope everyone tunes in. And yeah, Miss Tina Lawson Knowles was
amazing
with her, and Michelle Williams and Romeo Miller. I was huge fans growing up. That's my that's my era. It's my jam. And to be able to be on set with them and to exchange those amazing energies. Not only on the set, but also when we're not shooting. We're sitting in the chairs, we're talking about things, and we're we're people from different walks of life, different places in North America, and suddenly all of our values align. And
it goes to your point earlier, exactly.
Yeah, and it's not about anything like what it's made out to be. We're just people.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just beautiful to be able to exchange those energies with such an amazing cast and crew. TD Jakes, incredibly prolific speaker, and people that I look up to and listen to. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of this project, and I hope people can enjoy it, and I hope there's a takeaway for everybody. And God bless.
God bless. And I think that they're going to love it. And I just really quick, because you brought up Miss Tina Knowles-Lawson, I don't think people will even understand the capacity of the work that this woman does. I mean, beyond, I know all know her from being, of course, a mother to superstars, but she does a lot of work on the ground. She's involved in like community theater and children's initiatives, and she does so much work quietly, and is not even looking for necessarily credit. But if you get to know her, she just has such an amazing presence and spirit.
Absolutely. A heart as big as the sun. I mean, you would never know it walking into a room, although you do feel her aura. She has an aura. It's amazing. But it's something, to be able to be such a huge benefit to people's lives and do it in silently, effectively.
Yes.
Is that in itself is a true blessing. And she's such a force. And I'm just so honored to be surrounded with such an amazing cast. And and thank you for having me on. So I'm so honored to also be on the show. And
thank you. No, it's great. I'm glad I got to speak to you, because we've had this conversation that's just way beyond what we thought Xavier would ever be.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So it's like, listen, let me state my case here. I'm not that dude.
Yeah, don't judge me when you see me. There's a whole other side of me. I hope people look me up. It's like, is this guy really like this? And then suddenly they're like, oh no, here's the here's
the craziness. No, but thank you, Antonio. I once again, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com, and I'm here with Antonio Cupo, and we want to just again bring to your attention that Wrath on Lifetime. It's one of the TD Jakes series that's out. It's just super. It's so good. It's so good. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Okay.
Okay.
Take care. If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.